reliable and outstanding every time. That is Neal Coolong. Sir, welcome.
Gentlemen, as always, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Seattle is the opening game. Excitement abounds.
So, not for Seattle this season, that's for sure.
No, Seattle has nothing. To their credit, they have nothing. In fact, the Steelers might be practicing kneel downs in the third quarter. But, so, what do you want to see, if anything?
If I want to see anything, and we were talking about this off air, I would really like to see Kenny Pickett get some time in with George Pickens on the field. And the reason I say that is one, as Pickens is building up the hype during camp, I'll say this and I'll die on this hill. It's a lot more than hype with him. He's legitimately the best wide receiver they've drafted in a very long time. I might put him up against Santonio, but beyond that, Pickens is extraordinarily talented. If he doesn't tear his ACL, I legitimately think he's a top 15 draft pick. I was shocked he fell as far as he did, but I don't think there are many in the NFL that track a ball deep better than George Pickens does. On top of that, if there's one thing that Kenny Pickett has, he is able to throw deep accurately, and he wants to throw deep. He's aggressive. He's a big play guy. I think just for the sake of it being preseason, I'd love to see those two get some work in together. The way it's lined up right now, I don't know if that'll happen necessarily. Pickens is running a bit more with the ones than Pickett is, but it would be fun to see. And I would say with that, just selfishly, I want to see Pickens play. He's a big time athlete. He's a big time player. It'll be fun to see him make a play or two. Beyond that, the main thing, and I would probably say this most years, I want to see what the offensive line is doing because, for the fifth year in a row now, they've got a new offensive line coach. I'm curious what they'll have them do and how the players that they have out there, a few of which we don't know anything about beyond their past production on different teams and the little that we could pick up during training camp. I'm curious how they're doing, what they're being told to do, what the communication is like. It's a new beginning times two at center. It's going to be Mason Cole. Let's see if Woodbury native J.C. Hassenauer is up to the job, if he could find a spot on the team. There's a lot. I think I'm a huge football dork. I understand that this is not the mentality of most people, but I like the preseason for that reason. You focus on individuals, you kind of see what they're doing. The group stuff, it's not that it's not important, but from one team to the next, you can kind of get a sense of carryover of what they were doing, who did well with it, who didn't, things like that. I find really interesting, and that's sort of I guess the long way of saying I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing how it all comes together on a play-by-play basis. It's not about the outcome. It's not even really about the results. I just want to see what they're doing, how they're putting it together, and what they look like, as far as what they'll continue to work on throughout camp.
Pickens can get the deep ball. Kenny Pickett can throw it. How does that align with Mike Tomlin's philosophy on offense?
Based on the personnel decisions for the last 2 years, not real good. The Steelers haven't had a deep ball in 2 years, and I might argue even longer. We're not even sure. I mean, we really haven't seen a Steelers offense that we could call reliable since probably 2018, if even then. I don't know how good that team was, but it's something that they need to have happen. Now, if there's a point that I can make that I don't necessarily agree with Mike Tomlin on, who I think is a fine coach. I think he's earned what he's had up to this point. I wouldn't bet against him. But the concept of running the ball successfully and playing defense to win games in the NFL, it just doesn't work overall. You can win games with it. You're not going to consistently do that, and you're going to fight to get to 500 probably more often than anything else. You need an explosive element to your offense. That's why you draft a Chase Claypool, going back to him. the height, weight, speed guy that theoretically should be able to make plays down the field with a quarterback, presumably that is capable of getting him the ball. I'm not sure if they have that right now, but you got to put the weapons out there and see what you can do with what you have. But Pickens is another player that fits into that mold, and they've found playmakers like that consistently for a while now, and they've had the quarterback to do it. It wasn't the same. That quarterback changed dramatically for understandable reasons not all that long ago, and I don't know if they'll be able to replace that with what they have this year, but they should be able to put in a structure in which they're going to try to do that more, and that's going to help things. If they want to focus on being a successful running team, that would be great. We've heard that, I think, every year that the Steelers have been playing football. They're going to need to actually do it now. They've made the capital investment into their run game, a bit more, financial investment into the offensive line. Not that they didn't try last year, but they had a little bit more money to spend, and they brought in. I think James Daniels is an excellent player. I think he'll fit in well. I'm curious how Mason Cole will do. They should be able to run the ball effectively enough to maybe open some things up deeper. But I also think that, if anything, they'll run RPO more than they did last year, which was a lot. I believe they led the league in RPOs by a pretty healthy margin. And I don't think that Ben Roethlisberger was a great RPO quarterback. I think Trubisky, if there's one thing he can do, it's this. But RPO is not like a big play style. You might recall, do you remember that game where Nick Foles randomly threw for 7 touchdown passes, something like that?
Yeah.
Trubisky had one of those too, like in a half. You can blow up quickly with an RPO if you're playing against a defense that somehow just doesn't know how to defend it. That can happen, but you can also put up a lot of 16-point games, which Trubisky and Nick Foles both did on those teams. So they're going to have to make a commitment to getting the ball deeper down the field. I don't know whether they want to do that or not, but they're building for it, and we'll have to see how they go about it. Because when you're spending $120+ million, at least that's their cap number for their defense right now, you're probably going to be more convinced to play a little bit more conservatively and not flip the field, turn the ball over for your defense to have to play with their backs against the goal line. I feel with just Tomlin's experience, that's more of the mentality they'll have. But I think if they're going to make hay this season, they're going to have to take more chances offensively. They're going to have to get the ball down the field a bit more. And I think you're going to see quickly with George Pickens, he's capable of doing that. And this is a guy that can contribute in that regard at a high level from day one.
On defense, any mystery to you?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think they know who they are. They know what they are not. A lot of chatter going around out of Chicago with all-pro linebacker Rayquan Smith requesting a trade, apparently amid a holdout and a kind of a contract battle going on there as far as his extension. He's a top of market inside linebacker. Doesn't seem like he's pleased with what the valuation that he's getting from the Bears. He wants to be traded. I think talent-wise, I think he would be a phenomenal fit in Pittsburgh. That is to say, I think if they have a question mark, it's what we're getting out of Devin Bush. What kind of player is he going to be? I have not heard anybody in the know speak very highly of Bush during camp, not even including anything from last year. It doesn't sound like he's, making the jump that people kind of hoped that he was. They made a deal for a starting linebacker last year. I don't think that they're going to do that with Smith just because Smith's price range is such that they're already paying. Minka's got a huge salary this year with his bonus, as does now Deontay Johnson. TJ Watt is guaranteed $26 million. I don't think they'll have the cash to bring in somebody else to pay at that kind of a level, but they would absolutely love to have him. I really think that if push came to shove, a couple higher draft picks, not ones, but maybe like a 2 this coming year and a 3 the year after that, and Bush for Rayquan Smith, I think that would be a great deal for the Steelers if they had the financial ability to sign him then to a top of market deal, which you're going to have to do if you gave up that much capital for him. So I don't think they're in a position to want to do that now, and that would be their question mark. Inside linebacker is a good position to watch coming Saturday as well. What's their depth there look like? I don't know how much we're going to see of Devin Bush in a way that's going to matter in the preseason, but I think we've seen Devin Bush. They're going to have eyes for certainly next year, if not this year as well. They might be in the market to bring in an inside linebacker somewhere.
Stephen Ross has to stay on his yacht until midseason. So let me ask you this. A guy that's only had one press conference or one press availability and has not had one since the Ross thing came out is Tom Brady. It takes two to tango. What is his culpability in this?
We don't get into that much because the rules say it isn't an issue with the player. They'll come down on the agent and they'll come down on the owner or team personnel involved with it. I don't think that they ambushed Tom Brady, though. I don't think that they lied to him to get him onto the yacht. I think he knew full well what he was doing.
Of course.
I think Tom Brady is also smart enough to do a lot of these things outside of culpability. He's aware of right and wrong. He knows what he should do and what he shouldn't do, and he's not doing anything wrong that he's going to be directly punished for. I don't know if that's kind of comedically endearing or it's just infuriating. It really kind of depends on what you think of Tom Brady, but I don't think we need to sugarcoat it. It's exactly what happened. He knew full well what was going on. As far as the act itself being committed, he's just as guilty as everybody else who's involved. There's no doubt about that. They didn't talk to a doppelganger Tom Brady. They knew who they were talking to. He knew who he was talking to and what they were talking about. The rule is, though, he just doesn't get punished for that. And because of that, nobody really cares. But, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know how intense I would really want tampering to be. But in a situation like that, that's really more of what the rule is meant to prevent. It's not, guys bumping into each other on the golf course. I think we said that last week. This was pretty calculated. It's pretty orchestrated. And to get into it to a point where he's going to kind of pull a Michael Jordan and retire, but come back as an owner and then activate himself to go play. It seems like that's kind of what he might have had in mind. As a free agent, though, I'm not turning down equity in an NFL team. I'll play for whatever team if that's what you're going to give me. So I don't necessarily blame him either. It's just that you probably should have gone about this a little bit different of a way than you did.
And then you have Baker Mayfield in Carolina. It sounds like he's off to a good start. What is your thought on the fit there? I mean, I'd ask you about Jacoby Brissett, but we'll wait till that magic moment comes up. So I'll ask you about Baker Mayfield.
Baker, if you look at Baker's career, you can point out very clearly when he's healthy and when he's hurt.
Yep.
When he's healthy as a rookie, he did really well. In fact, it's smaller sample size, but what did he get? 7 games at the end, I think, after they got rid of Hugh and they promoted Todd Kitchens and they kind of let Baker do the things that Baker could do.
Yep.
He ripped it up. He was really good. One of the better quarterbacks in the game that we saw for sure, and he was a rookie. Second year, he was banged up. He was hurt, didn't do so well. Third year, wasn't hurt, did pretty well. We're seeing good things out of him. Last year, he's hurt the whole time. He was never healthy. I've read stories. There were people in the media that were writing this. Now, to give some insight to that, you talk about these things in the press box all the time, and you're usually trying to make your colleagues laugh and one up the next exaggerated opinion of whatever you're watching. But legitimately, to me, it seemed like the Browns were trying to sabotage him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's no way he's healthy. He looks terrible. Why is he still in the game? Why are you paying Case Keenum, a solid veteran backup quarterback? Why are you even paying him to be here if he's not going to play right now?
Right.
Baker looked terrible, and their team was not winning.
Right.
And I go back to this, and it's conspiracy laden. I know this is not something I would etch into stone, but that Week 17 game against Pittsburgh, it was as bad as the several final week games we've seen between the Browns and the Steelers, in which the Browns apparently had to have known their head coach was getting fired after the game, and none of them cared. The game was that bad for Cleveland. They played terribly. Zero interest, zero energy. I didn't think Stefanski was getting fired, but I had no other explanation for it. It had to have been something to do with Baker, something that happened. Baker is hurt, and they threw 45 times.
Right.
They just got Nick Chubb back, who'd missed most of the season. He's the best all-around running back in the game. And the Steelers were giving up, 8,000 yards a game on the ground at that point? Zero interest in running the ball. They wanted to throw Baker through the wall, and I don't understand why. It made no strategic sense whatsoever. So he wasn't right. I think he is a much better quarterback than we saw of him. Is he an elite guy? Probably not. I don't know how good of a situation it is in Carolina, though, to be honest. They're a dumpster fire. Matt Rule is lucky to still have a job right now. I don't think that's going to last. Whatever patience he has, I think, is gone now. But can Baker succeed, generally speaking? Yes. He's going to have to light it up to get an extension in Carolina, and incidentally, would be one to save Matt Rule's job. Those are two outcomes that are just really hard for me to envision right now. I don't know how that happens. I think Baker, if he stays healthy, I think he'll perform fairly well. I don't think that team is going to win very much, and I think that's going to kill Baker's free agency value, because quarterback wins are, in my opinion, a grossly overstated stat, and he's not going to be able to argue against it. Coming off the year where he won the quarterback job, assuming that he does, I think he will, but not set in stone yet. He's going to have to take a team that really has no roster and make them playoff level, 8-9 wins, in order to kind of overcome that stigma about, well, you got to be able to win. They're not going to sign a 4-win quarterback to a $25 million deal. But he's going to have to overcome a lot of things that I don't know that team is able to overcome. It's more than just him. So I think we'll end up seeing, if he stays healthy, I think we'll see a guy that played pretty well. He's going to be top of the market as far as free agency goes. I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina would want to take a crack at him, but a new coach coming in for a team that didn't win very much is probably not going to want to sign, or he's not going to want to hook his plow to Baker Mayfield long term. So I don't know if he stays in Carolina or not, but I think he can drum up some interest in free agency. And it get to the point where my obligatory pointing this out, that the Steelers just signed Mitch Trubisky to a $16 million deal. I think Baker Mayfield can make a buck or two in free agency should he reach it.
Well, you could have made a buck or two by doing this show every week, but we get you for free. Not a good deal on your part, great deal on ours.
That's how it is. I'm happy to do it, though. Thanks for having me, guys.
My friend, thank you so much.